It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is What Made the Cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Portion of the program brought to you by good folks at Trajan Wealth, TRAJAN Wealth.com. That's Trajan Wealth for all your trusted local needs in retirement. JJ, let's talk about it. We're going to chat with our guy, Mike Folta. He's the Mammoth Radio Play-by-Play voice, of course, and he's going to join us and talk about this big one tonight, of course. And then that's at home, by the way, 7:30. I think that's a 6:30 pre.
Yes.
So you got a 7:30 puck drop. What's the time difference for? It's normally a 6 and 7. What's going on here? Is it because of the special things that are happening today surrounding the Mammoth with a press conference? I don't know. But the Ottawa Senators coming to town. Where does this one sit? This is the first of 7 games at home.
It's time to start stacking W's and no more excuses and no more we need to do this and we've got to do that. It's time to do it.
Well,
this team is got to start playing consistent good hockey. We've seen them play at a level that is awesome. I thought they were great in the Rangers game, absolutely kicked the Islanders' butt, and then they stunk in Jersey. Like, you can't keep doing this. And now you're at this point where you got 7 in a row at home. You should win almost all of these games. You're better than most of the teams you're playing in this 7-game stretch. You've got to start stacking W's. They need to get 2 points more often, game in and game out, instead of this 2 points here, none there. This is not a pathway to the Stanley Cup playoffs at their current rate. They've got to get a run going. You've seen what the Buffalo Sabres did. The Buffalo Sabres won 10 in a row. And all of a sudden, this franchise that hasn't been in the playoffs in 2 decades is right there in the mix.
Yeah.
Even the Buffalo Sabres have been able to find some consistency with their young lineup. This team is capable. We saw them go on a 7-game run already earlier this year. Stack W's. It starts tonight.
I wonder if there's also a moment, too, where this team – I mean, I think that yesterday I kind of shocked myself when I looked at that and went, oh, they were 43 – They were 43 games in last year with 43 points on a year that they were like, this isn't the year. But next year, man, and what we do at the beginning of this year, we definitely had a different expectation. This organization has an expectation. And to have 43 games in and 43 points this year, it feels like there's this, right, it feels like that there's this kind of running in place deal. Now, what's good is that they have given themselves they're still in that spot where they're able to keep fighting and kind of you just have to keep stacking those wins so that you can stay close to that because when you do make a run and when you do start to kind of pull things around, and by the way, they did. You remember last year they started to really make that run toward the end of the season.
Yeah.
They're 43 games in. That's more than half of the season, by the way. Okay? And more than half of the season, and you're on pace for 83 points. And last year they had to kind of move mountains to get to, 89 at that last part of the season?
That was well short. Wasn't good enough.
Yeah. And so you have to look at where the games are here and say, let's get this thing going. Speaking of let's get this thing going, Mike Folta, radio play-by-play voice of the Utah Mammoth, joining us on the program. Mike, what's going on, man?
Hey, fellas, headed over to a press conference at Rice Eccles here. So there's some announcement at a football stadium. So you got to wonder if they're thinking about staff. We'll see. But yeah, exciting times here with the Mammoth, with the commissioner in town to make some kind of announcement coming up here in a few minutes. But other than that, it's the start of a 7-game homestand tonight against the Ottawa Senators, and this is a huge opportunity for the Mammoth to try and make up some ground.
We were talking about the making up the ground thing and how they're at the same exact point total last year as they were through 43 games. But what feels different about this team, or does it feel different? Like, even though you're going, all right, yeah, you're at the same point total through the same amount of time last year, through the same games that they were played last year, there's still this feeling of like, your guy Logan Cooley's out. You've had moments here. This team looks better, I think. Maybe I'm convincing myself that, but from a point standpoint, it's the exact same. What do you feel like is different this year that feels like they're in a better situation than they were last year?
Well, I think the team is better. First of all, if you pull over to the side of the road, throw out the flares, and pop the hood, and you look at the internal numbers, the analytics for this group, they're top 5, top 10, and a lot of these analytical categories, which they were not last year. Now, the difference this year is they've lost a lot of close games. There have been a couple games where they would want maybe another save or two from whoever's in net. And so even though the results look similar, I think this team is better. And the numbers, the under-the-hood numbers, if you will, prove that. It's just a matter of kind of finding that extra 1%. And this year, the NHL is so competitive, guys. Like, this time last year, there were probably 8 teams that were like out of it by this time last year. At this point this year, you have maybe 1 or 2 teams that are out, but even then, it's not crazy to think that those teams could win a couple and get right back in the mix. So there's a whole bunch of teams clogged up in the middle, and the margin for error has shrunk a lot this year compared to last. Yeah,
I agree with you 100%. This Mammoth team is good enough, and the analytics say that. I'm looking at goal differential right now in the West, Mike, and there's only 4 teams in the West that have a positive goal differential: the Avalanche, the Stars, the Wild, and the Mammoth. Yet the Mammoth are on the wrong side of the wild card line right now. How do you explain that, where this team has had a lot of good offense, they have a positive goal differential, but you look at the record and they're right there at 500?
Well, the nuts and bolts of it is that when this team has had a good night, it's had a really good night. Yeah. We saw that in the last road trip when they won 7-2 against the New York Islanders. So they're winning by a bunch of goals, and then, like I mentioned, they've had a bunch of these one-goal losses, too. Utah is actually one of the worst teams percentage-wise in the league when it comes to these one-goal games. And so that's an area where luck is a little bit of a factor. Like, you just need one more bounce to go your way. But the other side of that is you have to find a way to manufacture that luck. And winning close games is something that every championship team has to learn how to do. And even beyond that, something that every playoff team has to learn how to do. But goal differential can be a deceiving stat because, like I said, you can be 1-1 and win one game 10-0 and lose the next game 1-0. But with all that being said, over the course of time, goal differential typically is a pretty good indicator, as you would imagine, of teams, who are in the playoffs or teams who are the best. I think there was one team last year that made the playoffs with a negative goal differential, and there was one team with a positive differential that missed the playoffs. So usually you see that number and you're in the green, and it means you should be bringing your dancing shoes to the Stanley Cup playoffs in April. But that's how close Utah is, where they have those underlying numbers. It's just the close games. They got to find a way to win.
There have been so many guys who've stepped up in critical moments. I think we were talking about Carcone yesterday and how big of a deal it was, how much of an impact guys like him have made. They're asking guys to do a lot in the absence of Logan Cooley, who is irreplaceable in the sense that nobody really has that skill set. There are guys who have different versions of that, but he has just something special, and you don't want to be missing on one of your young superstars that you've just signed to a massive contract. So how are they dealing with making sure that guys feel that? It seems like the team feels that pressure, that there are guys who show up on a nightly basis, so it's like, man, Durzee's there, Carcone's there, and on nights that you wouldn't hear their names on typical nights every night, when you'd hear Logan Cooley's name every night.
Yeah, I mean, hockey's the ultimate team sport, right? And so it's hard to make a comparison to football or basketball where, you lose one guy out of 20. And I'm not sure if losing Logan Cooley is the same as like losing your number one edge rusher or the number one receiver. I don't know how to draw that line, but at the time of his injury, guys, he was leading the team in goals and on pace to have just an incredible year. And we are expecting to see him back after the Olympics coming up in February. I'm glad you mentioned Michael Carcone, because he was a guy who had 7 goals all of last year, Well, this year he already has 8, so he's already surpassed his goal total from a year ago. And it's not like he's playing top-line minutes, Michael Carcone, either. I mean, he's playing third-line minutes, so you're not seeing as many shifts, you're not seeing as much ice time, and he's making the most of it. Another guy who's really stepped up in the absence of Cooley is one of his line mates, Dylan Guenther. We've played now 14 games without Cooley. Guenther has 11 goals in those last 14 games, so he's elevated his play when his team has needed him to. He scored a goal in Utah's last game at Madison Square Garden against the Rangers in a 3-2 overtime win. But you go back to the start of December, which is essentially when Cooley went out due to injury, and there's only 2 guys in the league who have more goals since then than Dylan Guenther does. And even casual or not non-hockey fans might know their names, Connor McDavid and Nathan McKinnon. So that's pretty good company for a 22-year-old Dylan Guenther.
After the New Jersey game, the New Jersey loss, Sean Durzi was pretty vocal about the team's lack of consistency and spoke pretty – I think he's pretty blunt of his assessment with where things were at, and I'm sure he wanted to get the locker room fired up. What do you take of that? Him being willing to say that and then going and backing it up on the ice against the Rangers. How important was it to have that kind of leadership moment for Sean Durzi?
He's a vocal leader. He's one of those heartbeat guys in the room, and missing him for the first half of last year was honestly a big reason why Utah fell short of the playoffs. But he was telling us after the game in his post-game media availability that he took a late penalty in the third. He didn't like the call, and that was at a crucial point in the game when it's tied 2-2. Last thing you want to do is take a penalty. But he told us that his grandfather had actually passed away a couple weeks ago, and while he was in the penalty box, he said a little prayer, was asking for some help from his grandfather, and he came out of the penalty box late in the third like a bat out of hell.
He was pissed.
He was buzzing, and he almost scored in regulation. Like, he came right out of the box, and when a lot of guys would have gone off for a line change, he was like, "Nuh-uh, I'm taking this right to the net," and almost scored to make it 3-2 in regulation. But then he's at the right place at the right time and makes the right play in overtime off a great setup from Nick Schmaltz. And the emotion on Sean Durzi's face and in his celebration after that game tells you all you need to know. He wears his heart on his sleeve quite a bit, and I think the team feeds off of that.
Mike, as you see this team getting ready for this 7-game homestand, we like to do this as because it's our job to kind of do the guessing and the opinion stuff. And when you look at this and you go, okay, this is a crucial moment for them to step up, and now they do start to take that swing of they're going to have more home games in the second half of the season than they are the away games. They were absolutely pummeled with a tough road schedule. What do they have to do in these next 7 games? And I think we were talking about the next 14. They're 10 of 14 at home as well. Where do they have to be before, and that's before the Olympic break, where do they have to be before the Olympic break to kind of give themselves a spot to be able to make a move after they come back from that break?
I think as long as you're within a couple games of the wild card spot, you have a chance. The problem becomes when there's a bunch of other teams that also have just a couple games to go to get to that cut line. And that's where Utah is right now. I believe there are 2 games out of that one game out of the second wild card spot in the Western Conference. And like I said, you can be right at 500. You can look at your record, your points, and think you're okay. But in reality, there's a bunch of other teams that are thinking the same thing. And what happened last year was that the St. Louis Blues won 12 games in a row at the end of the season, and they essentially ripped that last wild card spot away from a couple other hopeful teams, including Utah. And so you have to think that there's going to be some team that goes on a bit of a run at the end of the year. It happens just about every year in each conference. Last year it was St. Louis with 12 in a row. The Mammoth need to be able to control their destiny a little bit more. And listen, there's 25 games after the Olympic break, so there's still a lot of hockey to be played. But I really think you got to be within a game or above the cut line at the Olympics to feel really good. Now, you do get Logan Cooley back after the Olympics, so you have that to look forward to. But when there's a bunch of other teams that are right there, you can't be 2 or 3 games out and think that, hey, everything's okay, because there's a bunch of other teams that are saying that same thing, and if you're not going to go on a run, somebody else is going to.
What impact will it have, could it have on this franchise to have 4 players involved in the Olympics coming up here next month?
We asked Andre Turney about this earlier after media availability, just kind of off to the side, and he had a funny line that I could share. He said the Olympics or these international games are like university on steroids. It's like college on steroids. It's a learning ground, and there have been a lot of examples of really good players or great young players that go to the Olympics and are surrounded by the game's best. They see how it's done, and they come back different. And I think that's a little bit of what Utah is hoping for Clayton Keller and J.J. Peterka and Karel Vejmelka and Oli Mata, is that they take something from the best in the game, because all those guys are going to be surrounded by greatness. Like when J.J. Peterka walks into the Team Germany dressing room, he's going to be looking across from Leon Draisaitl, who's one of the best goal scorers in the league the last decade. Clayton Keller is going to be in that Team USA dressing room with Austin Matthews, with a bunch of other elite American players. And you can go on down the list. And so it's a learning opportunity to see how the best do it. That's the simplest way to put it. And you don't really get that in the regular season, but these international tournaments are the perfect breeding ground for guys to pluck practices and habits away from the best of the world.
Mike Folta, radio play-by-play voice of the Utah Mammoth, on his way to a live press conference that we're going to be carrying right here at the 4 o'clock hour. Mike, we're not going to ask you to kind of reveal anything except for the fact that this is a big one for the team. How excited should fans be about a day like today?
Oh, you think they tell me? You think I'm in the inner circle? I show up like a good foot soldier. No, it's going to be really exciting. Do you just have your headset on in your car, and they're like, "Hey, you need to plug this in at any point and just start going live from wherever we're at here, man. That's your gig." Exactly. Just on call. Like doctors are on call, but it's nothing compared to us radio guys. You got to be ready to go in at a moment's notice. But it's incredibly exciting. I can tell you that. And anytime the NHL commissioner, Gary Bettman, is in town to help make an announcement, that's how you know that something big is about to happen. And like I said, we can't talk about it necessarily, but it's something that even if you're not a hockey fan, you're going to want to be a part of, because it's not just too much. Lord knows Uncle Gary's listening in, and I don't want to.
Uncle Gary, oh my goodness! Everybody's got an Uncle Gary. Sometimes he can be super annoying, and sometimes he can be great. But that's the way the lives of the commissioners are lived. And right here, we were talking about this before the show. There's no market who loves Gary Bettman more. If I'm Gary Bettman, I'm flying out to Utah every other week, man.
Well, exactly. That's a great point. Because commissioners typically get booed,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
And Gary Bettman gets booed.
Yes,
It's become like a part of the Stanley Cup presentation. Like, okay, here's the cup. Pause, hold 5 seconds while the crowd boos the commissioner, and now hand the cup to the captain of the winning team. But Gary Bettman's only delivered good news in Utah, hopefully everybody loves him here. And we actually had him on our broadcast last year on opening night, and it was a blast. And he is, I'll say this, he's the sharpest guy in pretty much every room that he walks into, and I haven't been around him very much, but it's pretty easy to notice that when he walks in and when you interact with him, and that's what you hear from around the league and around people, or from people who are around him more. But big news coming up here in just a little bit, so everybody better buckle their seatbelts here, because it's big things are happening in State 45.
You're not emceeing this thing? Are you wearing a tuxedo right now?
Are you kidding me? They have me like I'm an usher. Like I didn't get to be part of the bridal party. I'm just like helping people to their seats.
You're passing out
drinks. Is that what that Purdue education gets you?
How dare you?
4 years, baby. 4 years.
All
I thought you were going to say 8
we're
years.
killing
I'm a
it.
doctor.
We're killing it in the portal, baby. We're killing it.
Oh,
Hey.
Good.
The Boilermakers rise.
Well, Mike, we're looking forward to it. We're excited about it. We're more excited about the rest of the season, too, because it's nice to have these one-off announcements that are really, really cool. It's really nice also to be able to follow this team, and it's exciting night after night. Good luck with all the calls here at home. We're looking forward to it. I'm still going to throw something at you from the crowd. I haven't gotten the guts to come around during a broadcast and watch and see when you're on break, but I'm going to do it. One of these days I'll come by and steal a high five from you, man, during the broadcast. So thanks for hanging out with us.
Okay, I'll have our security aware that
good.
an armed and dangerous man may be approaching the booth.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's
good luck.
That's good. All right, Mike, we appreciate it, man. We'll chat with you. We'll be listening in, of course, at 4:00.
All right, we'll see you guys.
There you
Thanks,
go.
Mike.
Mike Folta.